Okay, we're live. Yay. Happy International Women's Day. Happy month of celebrating the women. Welcome so very much to our final live presentation of the Women in Publishing Summit. I am going to just say hello for a couple seconds so we can wait for people to trickle in before I start reading our special guest bio because I don't want people to miss out on Chandra Brooks. And I just want to say I'm super excited to have you here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and it was completely by luck that I came across you. You know, we run in a similar circle of entrepreneurs, and Julie Neal, who is also very passionate about
Oh,
women and women's issues, started commenting a lot on your stuff, and I saw you and loved what you were doing, especially with helping women in politics and all that stuff, and it just all kind of trickled down from there. Okay, we are having people join us, so I'm going to go ahead and get started because I know you are having a very busy day today. And I
yeah,
want
yeah.
to, okay, today for our final closing panel of our closing interview of the Women's Publishing Summit on International Women's Day, I am bringing you Chandra Brooks. Chandra is a women's rights advocate and former commissioner of the Santa Clara County Commission on the Status of Women and Girls and board member for Women's March Bay Area. In 2017, Chandra launched the Socialpreneur, a purpose-driven business that prepares potential political candidates to get ready to run for political office and coaches women on a mission to change the world by building leadership within their company, business, and or community. I wish I was local to you. This sounds so amazing. She has also written the book Black, Brown, and Political: Get Informed, Get Empowered, and Change the Game. She's been awarded the 2013 Portrait of Success Award from the Hispanic Development Corporation, a 2014 the Activist of the Year Award from the Latinos Action Media. 2015, one of the most influential women in the Silicon Valley from the Silicon Valley Business Journal. 2015 Eastside Unified High School District. 2016 Latino with Vision Award from the New York Life. 2017 Leadership Award from the California League. I'm like, wow, this is a lot of awards. California League of United Latin American Citizens, and the 2019 Leadership in Business from the California State Assembly. Wow. In 2018, Chandra founded the Powerhouse Academy, a program that turns leaders with a message into influential women um, in their industry, elevating their message in media and on major stages. So I think no one will have any doubt after hearing that why she is our very special closing guest. Thank you. It's really an honor to have you here with us today.
Thank you. I've been meaning to cut that a little bit because it just kind of gets too much sometimes. And I'm like, we could just say a few. So I'm going to cut that bio a little short. But thank you. I really appreciate and honored that you have me as the closing keynote for your summit. I've been watching and I've been seeing all the great content that's been coming through and all the wonderful interviews from all the wonderful women that you've had. You've touched on everything that somebody needs while publishing a book or thinking about writing a book. And I think it's just amazing. Like you thought about everything.
Well, thank
Everything.
you.
And I'm so impressed by it. So thank you for having me and I'm honored to be here.
Well, I'm so glad that you said yes. It's always intimidating, and I think this is a lesson of importance for writers who are getting out there and thinking about trying to find endorsements or people with influence to invite to be part of their publishing process or trying to get their name out there and everything. It can be very intimidating to reach out to
Mhm.
someone, especially when you read a bio like that and you're like, oh my gosh, she's probably getting just attacked with people every day asking her to do things, and but you have to ask. And I asked
Yeah.
and she said yes, and I'm so glad to have you here.
Right, you have to. You have to. You just never know. And I think that sometimes we feel that like people are too busy, and I've learned my lesson with that. Right, thinking the same thing, being like, she's probably gonna say no, or she's like, if I want to reach out to a mentor, somebody that I want to talk to, have a meeting with, And I'd be like, she's probably not even going to answer my message. And then they answer my message like within a few minutes. So it's, I try to be that way too. I don't try to act like I'm better than anybody.
Right.
We're all just on a different journey and a different time. Okay,
That's
we
so
all
true.
have our time when we are doing really well. And it's just, I'm doing really well right now, and I'm excited about it. And if I could help somebody, if I can give some great knowledge and encouragement, motivation, and be a part of something like this, and I knew that I could get in front of a lot of women and inspire them,
Yeah.
then that was a no-brainer for me to say yes to this.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I think what you're doing is incredible. I think it became really apparent in this last year that, one, we really needed women's voices out there louder, and two, that we obviously needed more women of color in the environment as well. So I think it's great what you're doing, helping women find their voices, use their voices, and be a part of the process, because it frustrates me when people don't want to be a part of the process, or they feel that like there's something wrong with the process, but they don't want to be involved. And so it's great that you're helping women, for whatever get out there and use their voice.
Yeah, we always want to say, I hope somebody steps up to the plate. I hope somebody's going to fix that. I hope somebody's going to do that. But we don't have time, and especially as women, right? When usually we take leadership and we step up to the table, that's when you start seeing some real change, right?
Yes.
In some leadership roles. You pay attention to that. A lot of people don't pay attention to that. When you see women leading, the changes, whether it's in a corporation, a nonprofit, in politics, in the community, we are used to juggling many hats and doing all of those things really well as mothers in our jobs in the community, and still balance it all. Yeah. How many times as women, we are so, the women that have the drive and that are doing multiple things, you hear, how do you do it, Chandra? How do you do it, Alexa? How are you doing this whole summit? And you have a family, and you have this, and you have that going on. How do you do it? We know how to do it.
That's right.
We know how to do it. That's why women are great leaders.
Yes. Well, we're so great at the nobody, especially, I'm not just, women, I think in general, are just born with this gene. But then when you become a mother and you don't get to take a sick day, you don't get to take time off, you don't get to say, I can't do it, because you have to keep going. It truly sets us, women are just amazing creatures. Well, you've been following the summit. You know that our theme here is the power of our words, and what we can do with those words. So you've written a book. Oh my goodness, I should have kept your bio up, because it's Black, Brown, and Political, or is it Brown, Black, and Political?
It's Black, Brown, and Political. Get informed, get empowered, and change the game.
Awesome.
Yes.
So at what point in time did you decide, I need to spread well, why did you decide to write a book? I won't even ask the question. You can tell us why.
Yeah, so I share this story all the time, because this is the why behind it. Too many family and friends were coming to me on who to vote for. They were calling me the mayor. They were calling me the governor. Shauna, you should run for president. And because they thought that I was just that in depth in politics and in the community, and they just assumed, because they seen my movements and what I was doing on social media, they assumed that I was an elected official. And it made me realize how disconnected we really are to politics. And if you think I'm the mayor of my city, then you really don't know who, and you live in my city, then you really don't know anything about who your leadership is in your city. And during election time, my family and friends would say, Shauna, just send me the list of who to vote for, and I'll do that. And I'll just do what you tell me to do. And I was like, that's not right either. You need to know this stuff. And people need to realize that politics has to do with everything. Everything. What we think of, our food, our makeup, our education, our housing, anything you can think of, politics is involved in it.
Yes.
Okay, and people are making decisions for you. So you should understand it, and you should be involved. So I said, I'm going to write a book about how I feel about this situation, and that people of color need to take our seats at the decision-making tables if we want things to change. If we want to see, something that we don't like different, If we want to see people in leadership that look like us, we have to step up to the plate and we have to get involved. And so let me write a simple book that doesn't have a whole lot of political jargon for the average person to understand that they're not going to get like just overwhelmed and say, oh, this is too much, I can't do it. It's very basic, very quick book,
Yes.
but you learn so much in the book. I had my aunt, 65-year-old aunt was reading it, and she was reading it into the second chapter, and she goes, I learned so much in 2 chapters just sitting here reading it.
Wow.
That I didn't know my whole life. And it's not like I'm a political expert. I am not. But it was basic stuff on how to get involved in your community and why we should.
Yeah.
And the importance of it. So that's what inspired me to write my book. And I said, what good is that message being hoarded inside of me and being here locally when I can write a book that can be shipped across the country, across the world, and spread that message far and wide. And that's exactly why I wrote my book.
Yeah, that's amazing. We're on the same page with you totally on this. As you know, my friend Nancy and I run a podcast for moms called Lose the Cape, and we felt like very passionate about the same thing, but from the perspective of moms who take a step back and are like, I'm too. And I remember how it was when I had 3 very small kids, 3 kids 5 and under in my house. Like the idea of trying to figure out what the heck was going on with politics and who was running for this and what was that, like it was super overwhelming. But what I've found over the years is the same thing. Like there's nothing then there's a lot of moms that have no interest in discussing politics, but there's nothing from the moment we wake up in the morning till the time we go to bed that politics doesn't somehow touch. And
Yes.
so we said the same thing. We were like, we want to start bringing awareness to these topics. And then we did write a small book too, geared towards moms. And it's, the Mom's Guide to Social and Political Engagement, and just stories from other moms on how they're getting involved in their community, how they're raising kids to understand the importance of politics and to be able to discuss it in a manner that's not angry, that's not, all those kinds of things. So I hear you. I'm completely 100% on board with that message. And just like you, it's a message that we wanted to share, and we can talk about it amongst ourselves in our small little community, or we can write a book and spread it.
Yes. Yeah. And being able to have that book has put me on platforms just like this, many other summits and interviews and podcasts and conferences and events. And I've been able to sell my book because of the message, right? Because it has a message to share with people. And panels and, hundreds and thousands of people have been able to read my book, and it's been able to inspire other people to even run for office after they read my book. So I've already did what I set out to do, was to really make a difference and inspire people to step up to the plate.
That's awesome. Nancy, I know you're here. Will you please share the link to Chandra's book as well so that people can find that? I think it's so great. So which came first, the women's empowerment training or the book?
The book came first.
Okay.
The book came first even before I started my business.
Okay.
The book was, I was getting ready to start my business, and I was like, you know what, I have this book, let's write this book. And I was working with a coach that knows how to write books, and she's a book coach, and she was like, let's get that book done. You have it, let's create something, an authority piece for you. And so we created the book. So the book came first, and then I started my business, and it's progressed into my signature program, which is the Powerhouse Academy.
Well, tell us about that. I'm sure there are people that want to hear.
Yeah. So I started coaching women and seeing myself as the coach to women that wanted to change the world, because I was coaching women that were getting ready to run for politics, that wanted to run for politics in the future. They wanted to lead in their community in a big way. They just didn't know how to even get started to develop their platform, develop their positioning in the community, on even where to get started. So I started working with women to do that, whether it was starting a nonprofit, running for office, or starting their own business, or even writing a book.
Yeah.
So these are anything that is about changing the world and sharing your message. Those were the women that were attracted to me. Those are the women that came to me for support and help. And that's who I started working with first. And then I just started getting my groove and figuring out, okay, what is going to come out of this? What do I do best?
Yeah.
And a lot of people would call me a powerhouse. Chandra, you're such a powerhouse. And I was just like, there it is. That's the Powerhouse Academy. And this is how I'm going to tweak it. And I turned it into a 6-week program that coaches women and develops women to become that powerhouse they've always wanted, with a message. You got a message to share with the world. You want to be known for something, right? You want to change something in a big way. This program is for you, right? This program, it puts you and positions you in a place to share that big message and that big movement that you want. And I help them get there within the 6 weeks.
Oh, that's amazing. All right. So a little bit of a recap. If you joined us after we started, this is Chandra Brooks that I am interviewing today. She is a women's empowerment coach. She helps people learn how to share their message in a big world to change the world. She helps them prepare for running for political office. And it all started, I think this is the most interesting thing, because it all started with her book, Black, Brown, and Political: Get Informed, Get Empowered, and Change the Game. And for any of you who are like, I've seen people say, I want to write a book, but I don't know what I would write about. I think this is like the perfect example of how you take something that you're really good at, you write a book about it, and then she was able to build her entire business around this. So don't lose sight of that thing. So if you weren't here when she was talking about it, she said she's always been super involved in politics, so much that people thought she was actually the mayor of her town. And they would come and ask her who they should vote for and what they should know about, and all these kinds of stuff. So she put her knowledge into a book, because she was like, you all need to know this information and do it by yourself. I can't tell you who to vote for. And everything has come from there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what a journey.
Yeah, yeah.
What would you say some of the biggest lessons that you've learned along the way? And for someone who is sitting here now thinking, oh my gosh, I have this thing that somebody asks me about all the time.
Yeah, I have it for you.
Yeah, go.
Get rid of, ignore those self-doubts and those voices in your head telling you that you're not good enough, that you're not smart enough, that you're not an expert in that thing that you want to write about. So like, who's going to listen to you? You don't have a PhD in that. You don't have a master's degree in that, or you don't have all these credentials in that topic. So who are you to talk about that? And I dismantle and shut all those naysayers and that voice in my head down completely, because that's what prevented me from writing it faster and from doing it, because I was like, what are all these people, all my peers that I'm involved in the community with, all these people that are elected officials, that are my friends, that are my colleagues, they're gonna like, who does she think she is, writing a book about politics? Like, she hasn't even run for office yet. And so, because a lot of people encourage me to, and they want me to, but I really feel this is my path right now. My path is to share this message, is to do the work that I'm doing right now. It's not to run for office right now. So, just because you tell me I should, I'm not going to do it. But I think that inner voice of telling you that you are not an expert and you shouldn't write it, you need to ignore it. You need to shut it down, shut that voice down. If you feel it in your gut, you're passionate about it, write it and do it. And who cares? And usually when your gut is telling you, it's usually the right choice, right? As women, we need to follow our gut a little bit more and watch how the blessings flow, because it's something in there it's not going to go away.
Right.
You must go after me. You must write it. So I shut all that down, because after I did it, I've been able to see people who read the book, who decided to jump in races to run for office, people who learned something, like my 65-year-old aunt and read it, and she's been on this planet for 65 years and didn't know half of that information that was in that book. And my book is a very short book. So it just opened my eyes that you will change lives, right? You will make a difference with your message. And so just go for it. Just go for it. And that's what I tell people when people talk to me and say, Chandra, I really want to write a book about this, but I'm a little worried that people are going to think this of me. I'm like, you can't worry about those people, because at the end of the day, those people are not going to be the people that are going to buy your book.
Right.
Those are going to be the people that are going to support you. So you just ignore them and move on and take action.
It's kind of interesting, because we've talked a lot about audience building and platform building and all of those types of things. And yet you you built all of that stuff after the fact. So what was the book launch experience like for you? I mean, you had a lot of people in your community and in your family and friends area network already anyway that were asking you to, share information. So you kind of already had a small element of that. But as
Yeah.
opposed to somebody who's building and building and building, what was it like for you? And what were some things that worked really well for you to get your book out there?
Well, I didn't even have a book launch event. And, people are still asking me to have one. And I didn't have to have one because, like you said, I already had a platform. I already had like all these awards and a position and some authority and a platform already. So I didn't have to do a lot of that. So it's different, right,
Yeah.
for me. So for advice that I tell people is really, that's why I developed the Powerhouse Academy, because you have to get in a position in order for people to want to buy your book. Because you can have a book, write a book, but if you're not actively promoting it and you're not actively seeking opportunities and learning how to partner and learning how to collaborate and bringing it to different events and knowing how to get it out there across the country, then it's not doing any good sitting on a shelf in your house.
Right.
Or on Amazon, nobody's buying it.
Right.
So it's not doing anybody any justice that way. So what that process for me was just like, I just kept promoting it. I just did what I was already doing.
Right.
As an individual, promoting myself and promoting the movements and the different things that I was behind and what I believed in. And I just incorporated my book into it. I would talk about my book. I would send it to people. I would send it to school districts, to the superintendents, and say, I graduated from the school district. So you need to have this book in your schools. Just like that. Just reach out. And it's things that I've learned within time, right? As coming through every experience that I've had with work, with my professional life and my activism and my community work, knowing how to build those relationships and have people champion you. So I had a lot of champions too. Those mentors, those people that said, hey, we need to use her book and do a panel discussion on this book. So that's why having strong relationships are important, because you need people to champion you and say, we got to bring her book into this juvenile center. We need to bring her book into this prison. We need to bring her book into, I was in Folsom State Prison with my book. We had prisoners reading my book and went over there to talk to them about it. And they were inspired to run for office when they got out and to really make a change. These were fathers that were now going to go get involved in their neighborhood associations when they got out of prison because they read the book.
Wow.
So the impact you can have, not just with somebody reading it, it's a good story, but really it's a trickle effect of change that you can really make when you share your story, when you share a message that you feel needs to be told.
That's amazing. Yeah, so that's amazing. I'm sure you never, when you set out on this journey, envisioned sharing it with prisoners and seeing that kind of impact.
No, I had no idea it was going to go there. Actually, I had no idea that would happen. And it was a blessing, and I had a journey to get there, because I had to take a train, I had to take a light rail, I had to take an Uber, and then I had to walk, because the prison is huge. But it was a journey to get there, but it was so worth it, because these men were crying, they were excited, they were motivated, and it inspired them.
Wow.
And I could have been done with just that. There's plenty of stories that I have about the book, but just having those stories and then have them write me later and tell me the impact that I made on just being there and taking my time to be there. Wow. Because they feel forgotten, that nobody cares about them, but somebody took the time to come sit with them and talk to them. It's all worth it.
Absolutely. That's such an amazing story. And, we've heard that a lot through this week. Like, I've heard people make the comments, I don't even know if anybody would want to read what I have to say, or I don't even know, it's so funny because, the impact that you can have is so tremendous. Sorry, I'm getting a little stuffy again. You talk a lot about claiming our seat at the table. What does that mean for you? And how is a book really a good opportunity to be able to do that?
Well, I think that, you know, having a book, you are claiming your position as an authority in that niche or in that topic, right?
Yeah.
And you are going to be chosen to take your seat at a panel, at a conference, as a speaker before other people that do not have a book. Okay, and they might know the topic a little bit more than you. They might have a PhD in it. Might have a master's, but they don't got a book. And that's the power of a book, you know, to really get your message out there, right, in a bigger way, and to be able to take our seats at the table that we want to. We want to share our message. We don't want to sit in the audience with that message. We want to be at the table speaking. Yeah. I want to speak. I wanted to speak about this. This is what gets me these type of opportunities to be able to share it and inspire. And if you want to do that, you have to position yourself for that. And part of that is having a book and positioning yourself as an authority in that and taking your seat at the table. Okay, and it's inspired women to run for office at the table, to say, oh, I could write a book too. I can be an author with some authority and to start promoting myself and getting opportunities to sit at the table, whether it be on a commission, whether it be in an elected office position, whether it be at a nonprofit board, a for-profit board of directors, the CEO of their company. All of these things with my book now, also with my business, I've inspired women to jump into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Take your seat as an entrepreneur. You have an idea. I sat on my idea for years because, and I didn't go after it because of fear. And I don't think I was ready to do it. Maturely, I wasn't ready. I had to be, it happened at the exact time it needed to happen.
Yeah.
But you know, being able, that's what writing a book, that's what really taking action to sit at so many tables, right? Not just elected office, it's every table, whether it be at an event, whether, you know, like I said, in leadership, in any company or any board. That's what it's about. Really taking our seats and really using our voice to really make a trickle effect of change. Because the only way that we're really going to inspire people is if we're at the table.
Yeah.
If we're going to make change, if we're at the table. Because a lot of things wouldn't happen if I wasn't at the table. The things that I wanted to see happen, if I wasn't at the table saying, oh, well, maybe we need to look at this, or maybe we need to decide this, or we got to do this. If I wasn't at the table, that wouldn't even been a discussion. That's why we must be at the table as well.
I agree with you. I mean, 100%. I would be cheering long if I thought I could breathe and cheer at the same time.
Oh, I understand. I'm feeling your pain. I'm just like, yeah.
Oh my gosh. But it's so, you know, it doesn't matter. We had another panelist or another presenter in the summit this year, and she wrote a book called This Is How It Begins. And her story is a fiction book, but it's talking largely about there's some underlying currents about a lot of things, but about how gay people are treated in society, about how, I mean, all kinds of like underlying really important political topics in her book. And she chose to write a fiction book and was still able to talk about those really important topics and bring them into a way where other people were able to read about them and to hear about it and to think about it in a little bit of a different viewpoint. So, you know, you don't have to be sitting here listening to us and saying, well, I don't want to write a nonfiction book and I don't want to start a business. Well, you don't have to. You can start wherever you are and so many different elements and still share those words, still share that story and still make a big difference to somebody.
Right. Still inspire people, right? With the fiction book. You can still do that. You don't have to, like you said, start a business or write a nonfiction book that is educating people. I mean, our stories educate. There's so many stories that are fiction stories that inspire us to really do something, right? So, you know, it's really not about that. There's so many ways to position yourself and to have something to share, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, that's going to make a difference in somebody's life. But even if it's a story just to make somebody feel happy,
right?
You make people feel happy by reading it.
Exactly. I mean, if you think about To Kill a Mockingbird or books like that have really deep, they're fiction, but they have really deep messages in them. And then all the way to, like, we interviewed a fiction author yesterday who was writing stories about basically like a Dr. Doolittle, except for she's a paralegal. You know, she can talk to a cat. The cat helps her solve mysteries, and people love that too. You know, but like you said, it makes them happy. It gives them
Yeah.
a way to uncharge and release and all those types of things. But the important thing is that if you have the words, if you have the idea, if you have the story, you don't want to sit on it, and you don't want to be that person who in 5 years is like, man, I should have written that book.
Yeah, I know so many people that are sitting on a whole book and they haven't published it. They're just sitting on it, and it's fear, right?
So
It's
much
fear.
fear.
It's like, what are people gonna think?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, girl, if you don't get that, give me that book so we can publish that book. Get it out there. And you know, when I've been able to do that and really push women to do it, I'm telling you, they just kind of just they're a different person after that. When you're able to really share your story and share something that makes a difference in people's lives, it just changes the game completely.
What are
So
yeah.
go ahead, sorry.
What are some of the things that you do to help people get beyond that fear to actually get it out?
So owning it, right? Owning that you are an expert in this. Like, are you kidding me? I mean, that's what I had to do through my coaching as I was writing my book. Be coached and say, Chandra, read your bio a few times, okay, and write that dang book. You know, like look at you've been in this industry for 20 years. You've been giving advice to people for this many years. Get on, you know, girl, come on, you know. So it's just a whole mindset and working and motivation and encouragement and inspiration and making and reminding them who they are, right? Doing exercises with them. And that's what I do a lot in my Powerhouse Academy is owning it. Really owning it. You must believe first.
That's true.
You must believe in yourself first before anybody's going to believe in you or your message. You must believe in it. So doing the work to believe in it. And sometimes it just takes a lot of people telling you how amazing you are, right? But then also you doing the inner work and saying, yeah, I am. And being okay with it and not being arrogant about it. You know, not being arrogant like, I know I'm the best. And everybody needs to know I'm the best. No, it's about, yeah, I've paid my dues. I've done the work. I know this like the back of my hand, and I could talk about it all day long.
Right.
And nonstop. If you could talk about something all day long, that's probably your thing.
Yes.
Without you having to read notes. Like I can do a speech on this stuff without bullet points, without notes. That's when you know you are doing your thing and this is your topic. Like if you can do that, you should write a book about it. You should write a book about it and share it. Stop holding all that wonderfulness inside of you. Somebody needs it. Somebody needs your message. So stop and let you know. So that's the work, is really owning it and making people realize that, you know, you paid your dues, okay? And it's okay to share it. You don't have to have this certification. Like some people are like, I need to be certified before I write this. I'm like, no, you don't. You're certified, okay? You're certified just because you've done this 20 years.
Exactly.
I'm certifying you. If you need a stamp, I'll make a stamp for you and I'll stamp it.
I love that.
But you know, you get what I'm saying? That's where it stops a lot of people from moving forward.
It's funny because back in the day when I still worked for somebody else, which I hope I never ever have to do ever again, because working for myself is a wonderful thing. But I remember whenever we would start hiring a client or hiring new people for a position or something, there were always, like, you had educational things that were requirements. Like you had to have a bachelor's degree and it was preferred if you had blah, 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 blah. But experience almost always, just to your point on education versus experience almost always won out. If somebody had 10 years experience of doing something and doing it well, that to me was far more important than hiring somebody that had a bachelor's degree, because they might have just graduated yesterday and know nothing about the
right. Experience overrides it.
Exactly. Yeah. So yes, you are experienced. If you joined us late, she's very experienced in the world of politics and getting involved and being involved in the local stuff, all this stuff. And she was always getting asked questions about who people should vote for and what they should do about this and blah, blah, blah. So she decided to write a book, Black, Brown, and Political, get informed, get empowered, and change the game. And that book has propelled her to launch a business, to launch an academy where she trains other women who want to change the world. It has blown up her speaking career. So you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. You never know what's going to happen, but you have to do the work too, right? I didn't just write a book and then all this amazing stuff happened. Right. It was a lot of hustling for me, you know, like I said, sending my book to people and saying, you should look at this book. I graduated from this school, this district, you know, and sending it to, you know, national organizations, like, you know, like to say the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, different, you know, people that are putting on conferences. Like, you need to have a session like this at your conference. So it's a lot of pushing yourself. Like, if you don't have a PR firm, a publicist to do this for you right now, you can do it for yourself. You can do it for yourself and really push yourself in order to get to put you on these platforms in order to create it. You know, some people have the resources to do it, but some don't.
Right.
So if you don't have the resources to get a publicist to put you out there like that, then what you need to do is roll up your sleeves and do it yourself. And it's doable. It's definitely doable, but it's strategy and a lot of hard work.
It's funny because on the speaking route, like, I see a lot of people pitching courses and ways to help people learn how to land keynote speeches or land speaking events. And let me show you how to, you know, let me help you develop your keynote speech and all of this kind of stuff, which it's so funny what you just said. It's like, okay, you don't even have to mess around with all that jazz. If you've written a book, you've already got your keynote speech, right? What you have to do is get it in front of the people who need to be using that speech. And we have people who have written, are nurses and go to nursing conferences every year, and they've written a fiction book about nurses. So they take the book to the nursing conference, so they sell it there. I mean, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, that's how you build your business. I mean, the book gets me on stages where I'm able to promote my business, which gives me more business. Right. And then I'm able to change more people's lives. I sell more books, so I'm making more income. It's just a trickle effect. Everybody wins. Everybody wins if you do that. Like, having that book is your keynote speech. I mean, that book is your course. You can create a course out of it. You can, you know, create. You have several speeches in there. Every chapter of my book is a topic for.
Yes.
Here we go. We're back.
Yeah. I think it was still coming through. It just lagged on your end. But yes, you're right. Every chapter of the book is a keynote speech.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah. Every chapter you can turn into a keynote speech. So you have that. Yeah. That's what I say. You know, people, it's like, let me make your one pager and create your one pager, and I can give you a list and pitch you to all these people. And that's good. And that's great. But you have to position yourself, like, because you can give them that one pager and submit that one pager to them, but they're going to go look at you and they're going to go Google you.
Right.
If you don't have videos, you're not positioning yourself as an authority in something, and you're not like everywhere. They're like, oh, she's everywhere. She's doing everything. Oh yeah, we need her on our stage. We need her on our stage. And they're like, oh, she has a book. I've already been told 2 or 3 times why I was booked. It was because of a book.
Wow.
It was a book. Like, we booked you for this conference to be the keynote because of your book.
Wow.
And because of I have a great speaker reel too, you know, which is a 3 to 5 minute example of my speaking abilities. So people will be able to see that. But, you know, so I've got all the material I need, and I put it out there, position myself as somebody that you want on your stage.
Yeah.
You have to get on. That's part of my Powerhouse Academy, is positioning yourself. Because you could say, I want to be an inspirational speaker, Chandra. Okay, that's great. But if you pitch yourself to somebody and submit your application to speak at a conference, and they try to search you and they can't find any of these materials or a book, or like you doing anything major right now, or seeing you on a stage recently anywhere, people want people that are a little well-known and have a position and have some authority on their stage.
Right.
You know, so how do you do that organically? That's kind of how I do it in my power. How do you position yourself? I've been able to do it. I've paid the dues for 20 years to position myself. And in my Powerhouse Academy, I teach people how to do it faster. You know, but the processes that I've gone through to get there, I show you how to do it in a shorter amount of time.
I mean, and it doesn't take like that could sound really intimidating, all of those things, but you could start really, really small. I mean, I have an author. If you, if anybody watching this now saw the opening panel that we did, Jerry Hilger, who is an older woman who decided to write her mom and her mom's best friend's story. She wrote a book called Our Duty. It's a World War II historical fiction about nurses serving during World War II, and she has been creating opportunities for herself by calling local libraries and bookstores. And when she goes, she lets the local press know that she's going to be there. And then when they come and they show up and they maybe snap a couple pictures or something and put it into a newspaper article, she gets it off the internet, she saves it, and she has that for other places. You know, I don't know that she ever wants to be on a big stage speaking, but she's creating a movement around what she's doing.
No, and I think that people that are in smaller towns too, you have a really good opportunity there because there's not a lot of stuff going on, right?
Right, exactly.
You can make the newspaper pretty quickly. So if you're in a small town, you need to take advantage of that.
That's exactly
you need
right.
To take advantage of that and utilize your resources that you have because when you're in a bigger town, you have to get through all the stuff that's going on in there, and you're not going to make it through. But if you're in a smaller town, you can make it through a lot faster and get you some publicity.
Yeah.
Right. Position you and some authority.
Yeah.
Get some authority pieces so people are like, oh, okay, she's legit. You know, people think you're legit if you're in a magazine it just gives you some credibility.
And I tell you what, the credibility is huge, whether you're trying to go big stage or small stage or just trying to get the indie bookstore down the street to do an event because they run a business. They want to make sure that you're going to help bring them money. If you can say, look, here's some media coverage from the last event I went to, they're like, boom, let's do this.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. You have to create, you have to build upon that. Right. So she's doing whatever she's doing. That's great. And I think that you're exactly right. You can start small.
Yeah.
You can, even if you are in a bigger town, you have little neighborhood newspapers. You have different, so call them. They always need a story.
Yeah.
So being able to, get in local online newspapers and magazines, there's so much opportunity out there. So when people give me excuses, I don't have time for them, Alexa, at all. Like, no.
I know.
I have no time for excuses because there's so much opportunity out there. It's just about you going after it and you taking that risk to go after it and listening and doing the work.
And that is the most important thing right there is doing the work. Did you hear it? Did everybody just hear Chandra? Doing the work.
Yes, doing the work. A lot of people don't want to write the book, right? They don't want. Let me just tell people how I wrote my book, okay? I don't like to write. I am not a writer. I didn't like English in school or anything. I didn't like that. I wasn't good. And so when I was going through the process of writing with my coach, she was like, how many chapters you write, Chandra? How many words you write? And I was like, I didn't even do it because I would get in front of the laptop and I would just be like, what am I going to say? And you start thinking about the grammar and how it flows, and you're thinking way too much into it, and then you don't write it. So what I decided to do was voice dictation. Yeah. I spoke my book into my laptop. I spoke it. And then you have the editor fix it. Yes. I went through it to make sure none of the words were off or, I kind of glanced through it and made a few tweaks. But that's it. I spoke. And then once I was able to speak my book into my computer, it was done in 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it took me 6 months to get to that 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. It's I love dictation. It's something that I encourage people to when they get into writer's block and other places like that, because for me, I get the most creative juices flowing when I am in places where I cannot sit down and type. If I'm like taking a walk or exercising some other way or cleaning. So I've just started using, I use an app called Temi, Temi, and I I can record into it and then I can upload it and they will transcribe it for me, which is awesome.
Exactly. It's the voice, right? So it's just your voice, and they transcribe it, and then all you have to do is send it to the editor.
Exactly. It's
You're
so
good. So
great.
I just talked. Just like this, right? This whole interview could have been my whole book. So,
This
so
might turn into a book.
we might transcribe this into a book. But that's how easy it is, and that's why I try to communicate to people. It's just like, stop. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm nobody special, and I made it happen, so you can make it happen too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a wonderful interview. I mean, I think it's really important for people to see, one, how important it is to be involved in whatever it is that's important in their life, to share your words, to use your message. I mean, you talked about how your book has impacted people in ways you never expected, and that happens a lot. And then just how like getting your words out there will completely open you up to so many new opportunities and so many ways that you can claim that seat at whatever table it is that you want to sit at.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
What would you like to leave our listeners with?
I think like if you're on the fence about writing your book, I've said it probably 5 times, just go for it. I've dismantled probably almost every excuse in this keynote, is that, you have the resources to do it. If you want it to help your business, it will help your business. If you want to inspire people, it will inspire people. All these things that you want to do, okay, that you're sitting on, that you're thinking about, like, I want to write a book one day about this. All those things will happen once you write that book and you put in the work. It can happen for you. So stop waiting and get your voice and get your message out to the world. That's what I want to share.
I love it. You can find more about Chandra at Chandra-Brooks.com. We have all of her links to everything she's talked about. Nancy has been plugging them away in the comments on here. And it's within her bio. I think we have it all up on the website as well. It's not too late. If you haven't registered yet, you can go to womeninpublishingsummit.com and register. Days 4 and 5 are still available. So much good information out there to help you through the process if you want to move forward and get to the next step. Chandra, you are amazing. Thank you for sharing your time. Thank you for being here with us on International Women's Day. And you're in launch mode right now with the Powerhouse Academy, right?
Well, we're in the Powerhouse Academy.
You're in it. Okay.
For my second cohort, and I start promoting for the next cohort now. So next week, actually, I'll start going hard and promoting a little bit. I don't do any big launches. Everything has been organic. The way the women find me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So my program is just organically. So next cycle will start in April. Next cohort starts in April for the Powerhouse Academy.
Well, that's awesome. I love what you're doing, and thank you again so much.
Thank you for having me. We both got through this sick and all. We made it happen.
We did it.
Yes.
Women supporting women.
Woo!
Women
do it. Women make it happen.
That's right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. We survived.